You know, you follow somebody for a couple of years and then they go all fucking weird on you. I'm going weird. I'm having a weird one. I've said this before and I came back out of it and now I'm back into it again. Wouldn't you be annoyed? I'd be annoyed if somebody started going all flipping ultra spiritual on me, all JPCs, but not doing it as a joke, doing it for real. I'd find it annoying. However, one of the things that is on my mind a lot at the moment is different levels of consciousness. Don't get spooky on me. Don't get all weird. What I'm talking about can be understood purely psychologically. So you can have a very internalized, rigid, materialistic level of consciousness that we might call ego. We might say, for want of a better term, it's the ego. So that's you at your identity level. What you have, what you want, what is yours, what is not yours. And if you wanted like the developmental psychology element of that, you'd say it's like who you are by the time you're age 4. You need that. You have to have it. It's essential to function in the world. As Terence McKenna said, you need to have an ego so that you put the food in your mouth, not in somebody else's mouth. You need to know that you have a mouth, that you have needs. And yes, sometimes you will put food in other people's mouths, but if you never put food in your mouth, the end result is not a desirable outcome for successful living as a human being. What happens though when, as we move past the age of 4 into adulthood, into life, and we're coming from this ego, like what's in it for me? What do I want? What am I about? And that lower level of consciousness, that is power, that is dominance, that is sex, violence, survival, narcissism, the psychopathic dominance of other people, the acquisition of that which glorifies us. Again, you know, necessary, part of growth, part of development. But if we get stuck there, there is tremendous suffering. And if we operate from there, there is tremendous suffering. So let me see if I can make a spiritual point, but give it some sort of psychological validity, some gravity. It's not a binary state of ego and higher consciousness, or ego and, you know, Buddha consciousness, or whatever you want to call it. There must be stages. There's going to be stages, right? But let's say that it is binary. Nothing is binary, but let's say that it is. Well, numbers are binary, but that's it. That's what makes numbers special. Ego, materialism, dominance, power, self, competition, acquisition, consumption. Higher consciousness is so if you have like a lens, one is micro, one is focused on the little me, localized sense of self, this, here, me, this flesh suit. The higher consciousness perspective is zoomed out. It's not a micro, it's a macro. You know, we could, if there's a beautiful sunset, we could focus on the wings of this wasp that is right here on this flower, or we could pan back and we could take in the entire vista, the clouds, the stars, the sun setting, the boats on the horizon over there, everything. Or, if not everything, more. So on a sliding scale, a spectrum, you'd have the little bits and pieces that are right in front of you, that which only concerns you. So you're only looking at that which immediately feeds me and my sense of self. And then you move out more to an expanded view of the world and of reality. What happens subjectively when consciousness is expanded beyond the self, one of the things that I found that happens subjectively for me is I feel better in my body. I feel better. So I've been saying for a couple of years now, there's the body, we talk body, and we talk emotions, but there seems to be something between the two that I've been calling it for a couple of years, somatic space. So when you have a sad, you actually physically feel a sad. When you have a happy, you physically feel a happy. It bubbles, it moves, the energy is moving differently in your body, physically, through your chest, your arms, your shoulders, your face, maybe it tingles up your spine, but slightly different for everybody. So in the somatic space, I instantly feel better. When I'm heavy in ego, I feel heavy. It feels dark. It feels like chains. It feels like oppression. It leads me to thinking and strategizing in a way that oppresses others, that binds others. If you're interested in the tarot, this would be the devil card. The devil card is that which is materialism. It's sexual pleasure, drug pleasure, alcohol pleasure, physical pleasure. And it's the addiction to that, and it's the binding to that, and it's the binding to the material world. But it's also a powerful card. So you could be at the mercy of the devil, in tarot sense, not in Christian ideology sense of the devil card, and be addicted and bound and attached, Buddhism again. Or you could be the one who addicts, who binds, who attaches. You could be the slave, you could be the master, but there isn't anything else there. At that low level of consciousness, there are slaves, there are masters, there are predators, there are prey. There's the oppressed and there's oppressors. When you come out of that space to a more expanded level of consciousness where you're like, well, hang on a second. I have evidence in my life that there is something called purpose, that there is a higher purpose. When I'm fulfilling higher purpose, from an expanded level of consciousness, I feel better. I actually feel really good. There's nothing better than that. Nothing feels better than that. When I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I feel good. When I'm going against the grain of what I think I'm doing, I'm irritable, I'm anxious, angry. I'm not good. It's not me at my best. That's when the unconscious starts bubbling up, the shadow starts bubbling up, the monster, the bad, but not bad, the disavowed parts of the self that don't fit the ego ideal, that just get pushed to one side. When you come out of that and you take a broader perspective, when one comes out of that and takes a broader perspective, it feels better. Not just to fulfill my own purpose, but to help other people fulfill their purpose as well. What's the reward in that? What can I charge people for that? How should I charge them? How should I bind them to me financially, which means energetically? And I sort of think, well, I don't really want to do that. That feels like I'm trying to go back to a lower level of ego consciousness, of the egoic, the lower level of consciousness that's in the egoic devil realm. I don't want that. I don't want people in a dungeon. I don't want people chained up. And from this level, I have everything. I already have everything. I'm not trying to have anything more because I have everything. What else is there? I have the earth, I have breath, I have life, I have the stars as much as anybody can have them. I have nature, there's trees, there's animals around, there's cool stuff, man. I can't have any, you can't give me any more, and you can't take it away from me. There's things that I have from that level of consciousness that can neither be given to me or taken away from me. They're the only things I truly have. The other stuff, it's all going to fall apart. The body, money, status, I don't know, clothes, jewelry, like cars or whatever you want. All of it falls apart. It's all finite. It's all temporal, bound in time, and temporary. So the devil, the tarot's devil, is also bound in time and the temporal, and the ego is bound in time and the temporal. But it's not the only reality there is. There's a reality that is infinite. There's a reality that's abundant. There's a reality that where there really are no ego boundaries, because as you pull out, when you look at a human and you, like, psychology in its way induces narcissism because it looks at individuals. And humans aren't really individuals. That's the illusion, that's the material illusion. The more you look at them as individuals, the more you magically create the illusion of individuals. You go, well, this person is this, and they are this, and they have this, and they will, and their trauma, and their story, and their personality type, and their goals, and this thing that is the person. Yeah, maybe that's useful, but it's only useful if it leads you up and out. If it leads you down and in, it's fucking useless. When you look at old pictures that are trying to express a cosmology of the way the world is, from the traditions of Hinduism, Buddhism, and alchemy. The style is different between East and West, of course. The tarot is a pointing towards an alchemical, Gnostic cosmology of the world. You'll see that that which is close to the earth is still good. It's not considered evil. It's not considered bad. But when you're close to the earth and you're focused on the individual thing, there is a lower in altitude level of consciousness. And the higher up you go towards the clouds, towards the sun, the moon, and then beyond towards the stars, the magicians are represented with stars and moons. Like if a kid dresses up as a magician at Halloween, you give them a robe and you give them a hat and it's stars and moons, right? That's how you know that's a magician. Plus they have a beard. It's just, which is, again, it's the tarot. It's somewhere between the sorcerer, the magician archetype, and the hermit. That's what you're seeing represented when we dress kids as witches, as magicians. Why? Why is it stars? Because it's out. It's up and out. It's an expanded level of consciousness beyond this realm. The more we pull out, the more we stop seeing individuals, and the more we see a collective, the more we see collective consciousness. You should have an ego. You should have ego boundaries, but I don't think there's longevity in living from that place. I think it intrinsically causes suffering. And at some point you have to transcend that and pull out and go, no, there's more than all this. Actually, these things are temporary. So in Buddhism, they would say it's an, and in Hinduism, it would be, it's an illusion. I don't think it means my hand is not my hand. It's an illusion of a hand. I think it means the illusion of permanence. The illusion of being is an illusion. It's a hand, sure, there's something there, but it's not permanent, and it's not a fixed thing. It's actually flickering in and out of reality at the level of quanta. It's mainly space. That's a bunch of particles vibrating and moving. That's actually mainly space, but it seems solid. And something causes it to remain a hand. Some force causes this to remain a hand and not to just in the moment just disintegrate, or I don't know, turn into an elephant's trunk or something. That would be weird if I had an elephant's trunk for a hand. That would spook you out, wouldn't it? It'd fucking spook me out. It would be most inconvenient. I have stuff to do. So the illusion is permanence. The illusion is the thing is real. It isn't real. It isn't permanent. It has a reality, but the reality is moving. It's all moving. It's all here for now. Here for now. It's a going. It's a passing. It's a happening. Life actually is an unfolding. It's a phenomenological unfolding. I said in another video on this channel, the apocalypse is actually, it's always the apocalypse. It's always now. And it's always the apocalypse. It's always apocalypse now. because the apocalypse means the unveiling. And every second you're alive, it's unveiled, unveiled, unveiled. Now, 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 and it's new. It's hard to cope with that when you're coming from the level of ego. In fact, it's distressing. But if you can, you don't need to like drop your ego and be egoless, but like if you could just go, oh no, maybe there's a little bit of something that's beyond that. Maybe I can come from another perspective. Just zoom out and take a higher perspective. It's not distressing. It's actually really enlightening to the extent that it lightens the load. It lightens the burden of being. Being is a burden. Existing is a burden. And existing as egoic individual consciousness all the time is really heavy. Coming out of that, pulling focus makes life easier, makes connections with others easier, and I think it makes it easier to resolve trauma as well. Whilst these ideas are still floating around and developing inside my head, I'll keep them on the philosophy channel, and I'll keep them away from the channel where I'm supposed to have fixed solutions for people. Should we agree to do that? That seems like a responsible thing to do, doesn't it? That's what we'll do then. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and your attention. These are the most precious things that you have. Please spend them wisely, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon. Cheers.